Hello and welcome. I'm Briando and this is Dentabot. We're here to discuss how dental practices can modernize by using AI, new technology and other process tools to really leapfrog the local competition. If you're responsible for running a dental practice, whether it's a single site office, a larger group with multiple sites, or even a startup practice, this video is for you. I'm gonna cover a really important topic from different angles today. Whether you're a practice manager, a practice owner, or perhaps you're part of the admin team working front of house. My advice is to grab your popcorn, make yourself comfortable, and really listen up, because today we're going to be covering one of the biggest challenges in dentistry, and that is patient no-shows. Missed appointments don't just waste time. We all know this. They eat into your profits. They stress out staff, and if they're happening on a regular basis, they can do serious damage to your practice's reputation as well. But look, don't worry. By the end of this video, you'll have some really solid ideas on the root causes of no-shows, and most importantly, how to fix the problem. And to help you really implement this in your own practice, I'm also going to share a free resource at the end of the video that brings together the juiciest points of what I cover today, as well as some extras, so that you can actually begin to apply these things in your practice so that chairs stay filled and your team stays firing on all pistons. So hang around until the end and make sure you grab that for yourself. Now, let's jump in and explore why no-shows happen and what we can do about them. First of all, let's get really clear on why this is such a big deal. When a patient doesn't show up, you're losing valuable revenue for that time slot that the patient doesn't show. Your team might also have to scramble around to call other patients or shuffle appointments from different slots in order to make up the gap. And of course, this puts your team on under a lot of stress for that period. Now, on top of all of this, a single no-show can entirely throw off the entire schedule for the day, leaving your staff members twiddling their thumbs for some periods and the next minute rushed off their feet. But that's not all. If no-shows are happening regularly, a common response is to try to overbook appointments in case someone doesn't show up. Kind of seems logical, right? Not really. Here's the thing. On the days when everyone does show up, you're suddenly overrun, and patients who do come on time, the experience for them isn't great. They're either gonna feel rushed or ignored, neither of which is good for the patient. So really and truly, overbooking is just not a sustainable long-term solution. Now, of course, one option is to just ignore the problem and do nothing. But let's take a moment to really imagine what happens if this problem keeps going unresolved. This is what's going to happen. You're going to keep seeing empty chairs during scheduled times, and you'll keep losing hundreds, if not thousands in revenue each month, sometimes without even realizing it's happening. This isn't a pretty thing. And furthermore, your front desk staff might start to really dread making those calls where they have to spend hours confirming or cancelling appointments. Not to mention your practice's reputation, your valuable reputation that you spend years building up, could really suffer if wait times become unpredictable. And before you know it, that small crack in your daily schedule grows into a real threat to your practice's bottom line. And the worst thing is that patients, they can just sense the air of disorganization. And lo and behold, don't be too surprised if they start to look elsewhere for their care provision. This is the last thing that you want. So your already busy days might become even more chaotic, with staff feeling burnt out and morale really beginning to drop down. Let's try and avoid this at all costs. So what can you do? These days, a modern approach to really slashing no-shows often involves a mix of technology, of process change, and of staff training. Yes, things like timely automated reminders in the run-up to an appointment date can be a big game changer for you. And what about internal processes? Well, an updated checklist, a slight adjustment, can really make a big difference as well in the hours that are spent chasing the number of no-shows. Also, staff training, periodic refresh, let's call it, as well as an incentivized and really motivated team can really help turn this whole thing around for you. The key is you don't have to become a tech expert, but you do need to know which tools solve the exact challenges specifically for your practice and what your practice is facing. Let's take a look at some of the practical strategies. Number one, we mentioned it earlier, automated reminders, confirmations. This might seem obvious, but some practices still aren't using automation for their reminders to their patients. So instead of your staff spending hours on the phone, set up text and email reminders that go out automatically. You can still have a human in the loop doing some ad hoc calls, that's fine. If patients can click a link to confirm or cancel, you'll get an early warning sign that someone can't make it. And that gives you a chance to fill the spot instead of finding out too late. Number two, smarter scheduling tools. These can be really great nowadays. Many scheduling systems now use data to see which days and which times are the riskiest for no-shows. They can also identify specific patients who, let's say, have a history of cancelling and maybe suggest times that are less likely to result in a missed appointment. Number three, then there's what we call a dynamic wait list. Some people in the industry call it a quick fill backup list. Whichever name you decide to give it, imagine a patient cancels last minute. With the right setup, you've got a list ready and waiting within your system that you can send out instantly with a text message to that list containing a short message to all the people on your quick fill list who've raised their hand in advance to say, please let me know if cancellation comes up. I will be happy to jump into that spot. Just makes sense. Fill these valuable slots that get missed with people who can step in at short notice. Just remember though, let them know in the message that gets sent out that the spot will be filled on a first come first served basis. This really encourages them to take action fast. And if they miss out this time round, next time they know that they need to act a little bit faster. This approach can really help keep your whole system running smoothly and reduce wasted time for your care providers. And finally, there is also the step of gathering clear data insights. Some technology platforms offer real-time dashboards that show you trends, useful trends, insights. Which days see the most cancellations? Which types of appointments are often skipped? Once you have this information, you can then start to address the problems head on. For example, you can send extra reminders for long procedures, let's say, or offer different time slots for patients who frequently miss morning visits. Now, let's talk about the cross-section, the intersection between tech and staff training. Let's call it the human element. Really important. This is a huge part of the puzzle, and even the best tech isn't going to help if your team doesn't actually want to use it. For example, if you have an automated reminder system and you really need to make sure that your team has it switched on and properly configured, of course, right? Make sure the right messages are getting sent out at the right time, in the right tone as well. If you have an old holiday message in there, make sure it gets updated once the holiday season has passed by. Also, your clinical staff, they need to communicate with your admin team. Any changes in the schedule need to get promptly fed back to the admin team so that they know and they can communicate with the patients in a way that allows that slot to be reallocated to someone else. One way to ensure these things happen is to explain to your team how these different tools will really make their lives a lot easier, less phone tag, fewer surprises, and of course, smoother patient flow, which everybody wants. Now, one thing that really must be stressed is you need to involve your team members in the decision making if possible. Get them involved at an early stage when there's a decision to be made around new technology. If they can have some input into the selection process, you'll be surprised if they feel their opinion has been requested, asked about, what's the most painful problems that you're currently experiencing. Then when the new tool comes online, they're more likely to really embrace it and put it to use. And let's not forget the patient experience, of course. Even though technology might handle reminders and confirmations, a warm, friendly phone call or text from a real person slotting in alongside your automation steps can still be valuable. If patients feel respected, they feel understood, the risk of them cancelling at the last moment really does reduce significantly. To keep things simple, here's a straightforward step-by-step approach for addressing no-shows. First of all, identify your biggest no-show issues. Look at your schedule over the last month or two, let's say. Which days or times see the most missed appointments? When you look at the data, it should become clear. Next, look at introducing automation steps where possible to cut out the unnecessary, laborious human element, which is always a little bit vulnerable to people forgetting to do things. So to start with, just choose one tool to test. Let's say you start with automated reminders, for example. Maybe even just for evening appointments, let's say. Take your no-show rates for a few weeks and see what happens. See if it helps. Look at the before and look at the after and make that comparison. Also, upgrade your staff training as well. Over time, even the best staff members can forget in completely human way what the correct process steps are. Remind, explain how the system you're using works, and importantly, why it helps. Set clear guidelines on how to update the schedule or follow up with patients who haven't confirmed, so that everybody's on the same page. And finally, of course, you need to monitor the data that your system is producing. Check your key performance indicators, your KPIs, if you have any. If you don't, then that's something that you can spend a bit of time just focusing on setting up. Look at your no-show numbers before and after. If you see a drop, great. Extend automated reminders beyond your initial test framework of evenings. Extend it on beyond to all of your the whole day. And finally, don't forget, it's important to celebrate wins with your team. Let staff members know when you've had a day with 0 no-shows. This is important. Or maybe even when a staff member rebooks a cancelled slot in record time. Let them know. Let the whole team know when this has happened. Positive reinforcement really does go a long way. But remember, making big changes doesn't have to happen overnight. Start with a small pilot, measure the results, and expand from there. Now, I do need to emphasize that sometimes what can happen if you choose to ignore your no-shows, you're going to keep losing money on empty time slots. You don't want this. You're going to keep burning out staff who've got to juggle the schedule at the last minute. You don't want this. And you'll keep frustrating those reliable patients who show up on time only to find out that they've got a 30 or 60 or even worse wait because you're running behind schedule. No one wants to be part of a chaotic practice on the long term, the short term or the long term. Patients and staff alike really do appreciate consistency. They appreciate calm, and let's face it, the fewer disruptions you have, the better everyone's day is going to be. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, okay, I understand the problem, but I need a simple roadmap, Brian. No. How does it work? No problem. I've got you covered. As promised, I've put together a free stop patient no-shows checklist just for you that sums up the key points that I've talked about today. It breaks down how different roles, practice owners, care providers, office managers, front desk admin, all from these different perspectives, how each member of your team can work together to reduce missed appointments. You can download it right now by clicking on the link in the description below. It's short, it's practical, and it's really helpful to practices of any size. One site, multi-site, even startups as well. So go ahead, grab the checklist, it's completely free, and help make sure that your chairs are full and your revenues remain steady as a dentist about to perform a root canal. Modernize and leapfrog your competition right now. It's possible. If All this talk about scheduling tools, about automated reminders and data dashboards has you feeling like you're juggling flaming torches. Look, I'm here to help you modernize your practice so you can jump ahead of your local competition without setting anything or anyone on fire. If it's all a bit much, I'd love to chat. I have a few open slots that I keep free each week for new consultations. Just follow the second link in the description below. Choose a time to speak and let's make your practice run smoother so you can keep everyone smiling. Thanks for watching, and remember, download the resources. They're there for you for free. They're just a few clicks away. And if you follow these steps, you can say goodbye to no-shows and hello to a less stressful and more profitable dental practice. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.